There was once a girl by the name of Sarah. This girl was a very, very good girl. She, thank God, got married. And by the way, it could have been maybe the biggest wedding that in the Chabad dynasty we know was this wedding that she had. Till today, when there's a big wedding, we named the big wedding after her wedding. This wedding was in a place called Zhlobin. So when you say a big wedding, it's like a Zhlobin Chasane. The biggest wedding probably that we know about, one of the biggest weddings, was the Alter Rebbe's granddaughter, Sarah, with the Berditchever's grandson. Kids, this is the interesting class taste, this, huh? They got married in a place called Shlobin. So the Alter Rebbe was Chabad, and you have the other place. It was very interesting. There's actually, I think, even a book today they made about the wedding in Shlobin, like a very interesting episode between the Chabad Chassidim and the other Chassidim. What's interesting is that the marriage didn't last too long. I think maybe a year. But kids, when she gave birth to her first kid, she passed away by the birth. Which means that they named the girl obviously after her mother, which means Sarah. So, huh? The Mittler Rebbe had a daughter named Sarah, and Sarah married the Berditchever's Einokol, and she passed away by the birth of her daughter Sarah.
What?
The Mittler Rebbe. Whatever you want. You want to take notes? If it's going to help you, then yes. Sometimes it's easier to focus when you're just listening. It's very simple. A girl got married. She passed away by the birth of her daughter. By the way, it's interesting that the Mittler Rebbe ended up getting another baby after that. After his daughter passed away. Amiteva Dvorim. Good question. We're going to see in a second. We're going to see soon. Could be. You want to name the next kid after the one that passed away, but it's a little bit dangerous to name a kid after someone that passed away young. So the custom is that you add a name. So they called the next girl was called Chaya Sarah. It's very crazy because they didn't even realize that there was already a Chaya in the family. Who is the Chaya in the family? Chaya Mushka. Which means the Tzemach Tzedek's wife was Chaya Mushka. And she was also a daughter of the Mittler Rebbe. So now they have two Hayot in the family. But you just know that they actually ignored the Chaya. Everyone knows her as Sarah. They really called her Chaya Sarah. But, when they realized that the name Chaya already was before, although it's not the end of the world. People think it's like the end of the world. Everyone knows that when you give a name to a kid, it's a certain prophecy that the parents have. In an example, by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, everyone wants to know which name to name the kid, and they wrote to the Rebbe, shh. The Rebbe would always answer people in Igris that, what are you asking me which name to give? It's a prophecy that the parents have. Whatever name you give, that's the name the kid is supposed to have. And it's very cool because you actually have stories that people, you're going to say a story that happened to me. We had a kid, crazy miracles that he was born, and he had also a whole matzav with him. His bris was not even when he was born, like a few months. So to understand, we had a name for this kid, and we ended up giving the kid's name Yosef Yitzchok. It was a nice bris. The Falna was the sandik, and then I realized, you joking? There was no in my wife's family. There's no Yosef Yitzchok. The Zayda's name is Yitzchok. But for 2-3 months, it was erased. The name, as if the Zayda is around, and that's why by Ashkenazim they're makpid not to give a name after someone that's still alive. But as Fardim, it's the biggest chus. It's like the biggest bracha. Very good. Very Hana. And that's, by the way, it's the get to today also. It's the Rebbe Tzidhan's. So by the Fardim, it's not only the chus that you have to name the kid after the Zayd, after the grandma. Otherwise, you can get into tzoris. By then, you don't want to play games with them. But so that's the prophecy you have. Now, Chaya Sarah she grows up, she gets married. We know 2 kids that they had. Listen carefully. I'm going to test you afterwards on the story and see who remembers the details. It's a very important story. This story, this vart that I'm saying, that's from obviously it's a sikh of the Rebbe. I don't have to even say that, right? But this vart of the Rebbe, it's the whole Judaism in one thing. If you get it, if you're here. So they had 2 kids, Tzivya Gittel and Rivka. Maybe when Rivka was 2 years old, her father got sick, and he passes away. I don't think she even remembers anything from her father, Reb Aaron. And there's a lot of stories about Reb Aaron. Maybe next time we'll speak about Reb Aaron. Her mother remarried because it's hard to educate the kids. You have to have someone else in the house. To also other person named Aaron. Chaya Sarah lost her first husband, and she remarried.
And they're the same.
But it's interesting. The name was the same, Aaron. It's not the end of the thing. It's different people. But the name was Aaron also. She actually, Rebbetzin Rivka remembers her stepfather, and she has good memories from her stepfather. He was a good guy. She has good memories from that time. But the problem was that when she was around 8, 9, maybe 10 years old, her mother started getting very sick. Chaya Sarah got very sick. And she was davening to the Eibishter. I don't care to suffer all the torture in the world, she says to the Eibishter. But I need to stay alive to educate my kids. Who's going to care? Who's going to look at them? Because they already lost their father. If they lose their mother also, what's going to happen after that? And she was davening and crying. Sometimes people want to keep it a secret. You don't want to, people should know that the person is sick. I don't know why it's like a secret. It's a very beginning to daven. And she told the kids also that I see there's an iron wall. I see my father, and they said that there's no hope. It's like a wall. But maybe you, the kids, they daven. The mother should feel better. That's going to help. And Chaya Sarah is saying on her deathbed, she's telling this to her children. Her kids were 10, 11-year-old kids. And Rivka was saying Tehillim the whole. I think she even fainted in the middle of saying Tehillim once. And she went to the Beis HaKaim. She comes back. Mommy's doing better. Nothing was happening. And a few days later, they lost also their mother. So Rebbetzin Rivka now, Rivka, one of the most famous Rebbetzins in Chabad. Everyone knows. Where you, as a kid, you learned. Many people learned in this school called after her. Beis Rivka, the Frierdiker Rebbe named after his grandmother Rivka. That was the Rebbe Menashe's second wife. Right?
Base Rivka production about the whole Gittel and Rivka.
Yeah?
Not that you would know, but yeah.
A whole what?
Because one of the years the production was about Rebbetzin Rivka and how Gittel and Rivka. That's
how they were growing up together?
Yeah.
It's a very interesting stories that they had with each other.
Older, so she would have married maybe, but instead Rivka married.
It's a whole story, very good.
Yeah, it was like when they were younger, a while ago approached it. Yeah.
Well, one time they were saying Al Chay together. And she said, you skipped a page in the Machzor. And Rivka says, no. Gittel felt, again, they didn't have any father or mother. So the older sister felt like she was like the mother of Rivka. And she was like sometimes like, But she obviously meant for her benefit. But Rivka sometimes took it in a harder way. So like she's saying that when Rivka saw good in her, a shed of light in her life, was when her cousin, right? Like she was the daughter of Chaya Sarah, and the Marash was the son of Chaya Mushka. They were both sisters, so they're first cousins. And their Marash married, I think when he was maybe 14 years old. In those days, it wasn't the end of the world. It was, I don't know if it was a regular thing, but people got married much younger in those days. That's why the world was also much cleaner. But in a way, it's a very healthy. There is something positive about getting married young. Like it's known, and the Rebbe spoke about it a few times also, that the younger you get married, obviously if you're able to, right? If someone is not on the right matziv, so it could be it's better for you to get married now, but it's going to be rachmanas on the spouse, right? So you have to make sure you're stable already and you're ready set to get married. But in general, if you're ready, whatever ready means, it's better the younger as possible. And the Rebbe Marash got married, and the Kale he got married to his niece. Like it's known, it's a very big inyan to get married to your niece. And the Rebbe Marash. Okay, so now you learn something else. Yeah, it's brought in the Rambam, in Halacha, it's brought in, I know people did it also. The Rabbeim did it also. The Rebbe Marash married his niece, and she got very sick by the Sheva Brachas. 3 months after the Chasana, he loses his first wife, and he was very broken. The first marriage is very, very special. And after a while, they wanted to marry him after the second to someone else. There was a whole discussion, who should it be? Like she was saying, there was a whole production about it, so it could be more details about it, but I'm taking it very short. The Ramarash also said, by the way, when we were kids, the cousins were all playing with each other, and I told Rivka, I'm going to marry you. Everyone thought it was like a funny thing. Oh yeah, it's a funny thing. But obviously the Ramarash knew what he was saying. And the Tzemach Tzedek also said that's what's going to happen. Obviously they went to Gittul, and they asked her if she's actually Moicheles Belev Shalem. You get married to someone that's younger in the family, you have to make sure the older one is Mechila. You're going to get married also we're going to take care of you also, don't worry. But the Rebbe Rivka ends up marrying the Maharash. That's when she started getting...
Yeah. Do we know why his first wife passed away?
She didn't feel well.
No, like right when she got married.
Tikkunim. I don't know. We don't know why. So Rebbe Tzimifka now grows up. She was married now. By the way, a lot of interesting stories about Rebbe Tzimifka. She had a very hard child. You can already imagine losing your father, losing your mother. Shh. You gonna hear? How's our Rebbe? First of all, we didn't get to the Rebbe yet, and I'm saying we're going to get to the Rebbe, but the Rebbe was a grandson from the Tzemach Tzedek.
The Rebbe from the Tzemach Tzedek.
Oh, but the Tzemach Tzedek is
The Tzemach Tzedek, listen carefully. We're going to say this very, very, very simple. He had probably the most children from the Rebbe. Tzemach Tzedek had a lot of sons, and what's interesting about the Tzemach Tzedek is very interesting that all of his sons almost came Rebbes. Chabad had a very big split when he passed away. Not Chabad, yeah, Chabad wasn't Chabad. We had Chabad Korpus, we have Chabad Babrois, Chabad Niezhin. A lot of Chabads that are not Lubavitch. They learned Chassidus, they davened. At the Holocaust, a lot of them, before the Holocaust also, they combined afterwards when their Rebbes passed away, they ended up coming, shh. You ask a question, then everybody goes to a different world totally. What's going to be? Sorry, you ask a question, I'm answering only your question. We're going off topic now for you, and you're speaking to someone else. The kid here, he had an oldest kid named Baruch Shalom. Right? You ever heard of Baruch Shalom? Yeah. The Rabash. Baruch Shalom, very holy person. He was maybe the only one that didn't come Rebbe after Tzemach Tzedek passed away. And they say that Tzemach Tzedek told him, the fourth generation is going to come back. His fourth generation afterwards, that was the Rebbe. The Rebbe came from the oldest son, the Baruch Shalom. The Rebbe Marash was the youngest son. That's the Fida, that's where his wife came from. The Rebbe Tzemach came from the... So basically, that's in short, and we'll speak about it maybe more afterwards. And by the way, just a little episode, the Rebbe Maharash, before he passed away very young, Rebbe Maharash also. Can you imagine, she lost her father, her mother, and also lost also a son. You know, who are the children of the Rebbe Maharash? Who are the children of Rebbe Tzimifka? Rebbe Rashab, the Razor, Rebbe Zalman Aaron. Who said that? You just know that that's the one that in a way you're the most the most connection to us is the Ramam, Menachem Mendel. Very interesting story about the Menachem Mendel. He's actually buried in Sfas. It's a very strange story because he passed away in France, I think it was, and our Rebbe, the Heintige Rebbe, like she said, was very involved very close with his great uncle, Menachem Mendel. By the way, he passed away in France, and the Rebbe was no one knows why, it's like a very Himmel Shemaise. The Rebbe wanted to transfer his body to Tzfas. Obviously, the family wasn't allowed to know about it because they were not, I don't know if they were so much, if they were going to agree to that. So they had to go and take away the body out of the grave. Could be they're still davening by the cave there. But the Rebbe took the body, the Rebbe sent people to take the body, and the Menachem Mendel came to Tzfas, and the Rebbe asked them, very good. The Rebbe asked that they should take The Rebbe said they should take the body to Tzfas and they should take a picture of the body before they bury him in Tzfas.
Oh, literally so not normal.
The Rebbe, I'm telling you, it's a very Himmel Shemaise. I'm telling you, it's a very, very, very special story. We know about Menachem Mendel. He's in Tzfas, and the Rebbe made sure he should be in Tzfas. And in those days, even today, in Tzfas, to find a camera in Tzfas is not an easy thing to find. But they couldn't find, there's no phones, no cameras. They couldn't find the picture. But they looked at the body. If I'm involved, Shitsky was there, a few guys were there. It was a very big secret because they weren't able to notify anyone that he was there.
Why?
Because the family didn't know. It was a secret.
Why was it a secret?
Were you here listening to the whole story?
Yeah.
They were not going to agree for them to take away the body. So the Rebbe wanted very badly.
Because you don't just undig bodies.
It's a very, very high and lofty story. The Rebbe wanted the body to be in Tzfas, and the Rebbe also actually wrote the nusach of the kever. He's actually, I don't know if you're ever going to find the kever because it's in the middle of nowhere. But you go to the Arizal's kever. I'm sure you went to the Beis HaChaim many times in Tzfas. A lot of holy Jews that are there. The Alshich, the Bat Ayin, the Beis Yosef, the Arizal. So with the Yisurim. So we go to the Arizal's kever. In the middle of nowhere, you look at the empty spot in the middle of the cemetery. It's like a big empty spot. You see like the frame of a sukkah, like the metal sukkahs that they make, and right there, it's very hard to climb from there. But actually, from the soldier cemetery in the beginning, where the Rebbe's brother is, there's a path, and it goes straight in the middle of nowhere. You see the Rebbe's, you see Rebbe Menachem Mendel Schneerson. That was the son of Rebbe Tzimifke. They actually had also had another kid that passed away by the age of 7. Right? Everyone knows the story of Alexander Sender passed away. There's a whole question what happened. The Alter Rebbe said that was the Zayde. The Alter Rebbe came down to this world again to live because he passed away before his time. So he lived a few years. What was interesting is that the Rebbe Maharash, before he passed away, he told his children, you make sure you don't go into business. You're supposed to be in Torah, mitzvahs, whatever it is, don't go into business. In the beginning, I'm sure they kept what their father said. After a while, the Rebbe Maharash told his children not to go into business. And he himself had a lot of money, but in stocks, he told his children they shouldn't go into business. And one day they weren't able to hold themselves in, and they signed a certain agreement on buying a forest or something, a whole big business deal. And the Rebbe Rashab was crying. The Rebbe Tzimifka was going bananas. She couldn't get over it. She was crying and crying, and she couldn't go. And all her friends came over to her to tell her, "It's not in your hands." They're trying to calm her down. And they even told her, you went through so much sorrows in your life. Your father passed away, your mother passed away, your husband passed away. We never saw you so broken. How could it be this is worse than anything that happened to you? He just for sure it's worse. Whatever happened to me in my life, that was all God's will. This is against God's will. In a way, sometimes people go through stuff. People who got killed. Everything is tzaris. But if someone doesn't make a bracha before he eats, doesn't wash nekavas by his bed, in a way, that's much more severe than anything else, because that's against God's will. That's what Rebbe Tzimifke explained, that all the sorrows that I went through, okay, it's very sad, people passing away, people becoming sick. But when someone does something against what the Rebbe says, it's not even against halacha. The Rebbe said, their father said they shouldn't go into business, But if someone goes against the Rebbe, in a way, it's much worse than all the tzaras that people scream about and cry the whole day. To be careful. So there's a very famous vart that everyone knows, but I want to explain this vart. The Rebbe explains this vart a little bit on a deeper level. One day, Rebbe Tzimifka herself started coming a little bit sick. And when she was very scared, her father, her mother, and those days coming sick bechlal was very dangerous. And they went to the doctor, and everyone knows that most of the problems people go through today, also mental issues, it could be emotional issues, it could be also, especially physical things, it's based on the way a person eats. What you eat, how much you eat, when you eat, and how you eat. The Rambam says it's very clearly in the Rambam. All the machalis, if it's headaches, stomach aches, or other stuff that there is, the garbage they put into the food today, and also the amount how much you eat. The Rambam says it's better to eat a little bit food, not even healthy, than eating a lot of healthy. Because some people think it's very healthy, organic and sourdough and spelt bread. They have their organic lettuce, and they eat a lot of food. A guy eating a bag of bisli, it's probably better, the bag of bisli, but it's still better than eating all this. Because when you eat until you're full, it's the worst thing you could do. Never eat unless you're hungry, never drink unless you're thirsty. Famous word of the Rambam.
But is the water thing true nowadays?
So a lot of people say that today, it's a sikha of explaining how it works today. The Rambam says, people always think that you're supposed to drink a lot. The Rambam says, don't drink unless you're thirsty, and don't drink too much, especially while you eat. So for sure, while you eat, you don't drink, right? Only to rinse your mouth between the fish and the meat. Okay. Yeah. You're not allowed to drink while you eat. Only between the fish.
If you drink while you eat, you don't make a breath on the water because
No, it says you drink a little bit between the fish. There is drinking, which means also in health. You could drink a little bit. There is wine you could drink also, and you could drink between the fish and the meat. You have to rinse your mouth. You could drink a little bit.
The idea that now we don't really follow the Rambam and those things that goes just for that generation.
It's a very big topic. I don't want to get into it now, but whatever the Rambam says is 1,000% true. And until today, there are some things that she's drinking. It could be that.
if you get a blood test, you shouldn't shower the same day.
So the Rambam spoke about not a blood test.
That's not a blood test.
It was a real taking out blood, like donating a bottle of blood. It was like a really because it's dumb. Okay, it could be today drinking a little bit more, especially if someone, I don't know, people that go through these things over here, but if you have kidney stones, for example, comes from not drinking enough. We a lot of times we don't drink enough, but don't overdrink. That's for sure. Don't overdrink. Because in Kippur, you drink a little bit more, fine. But all these things of 20 cups of water, all these crazy things, just causes damage.
It's very hard to get overhydrated. It's not like we're.
Okay, very good. So basically, the doctor told this girl, she was around 18 years old, you don't eat too much. You have to make sure to eat well, and especially in the morning. When you wake up in the morning, eat right away because you're very weak. So it's very strange, but we know for a fact it's very interesting. But we have sources for it that it's for sure true. There was a certain time in Jewish history. It's a good question when it happened exactly, but it's very interesting that there was a certain time in Jewish history when people in the Jewish world lived their life on what it says in Shulchan Aruch, which means what it said in Shulchan Aruch, that's what they did. It says, for example, you have to make a bracha after the bathroom Asher Yatzar. People said Asher Yatzar. They said a bracha after they eat, they wash their hands until here, and Tznius and Shabbos, and they didn't eat before davening. That was the way people lived for many years. And for her, it was very hard to eat before Shachris. You don't eat before Shachris. It was very strange. But if the doctor says, then halacha says, listen to the doctor. So she had to eat in the morning, but after a while, she felt a little bit better, and also was very uncomfortable to eat before Shachris. I'm sure people have that feeling. It's very hard to eat before. So she stopped eating before Shachris. I guess in a very simple, I guess the Marash realized that. Didn't want to tell it to his wife, I guess. Didn't want to cause issues in the family. But he told it to his father. So he said it to the Tzemach Tzedek. And the Tzemach Tzedek calls her into the room and says one of the most important things in Judaism is to be healthy. Healthy, by the way, means physically, obviously, to be healthy, also mentally and emotionally. For some reason, people take Judaism and they get very frustrated and they get very stressed out and they get anxiety. It doesn't make sense. It means it's the wrong Judaism. The real Judaism, authentic Judaism, is supposed to add happiness to your life, and it's supposed to make you enjoy life, and you're supposed to enjoy Judaism. If someone frames Judaism as like a headache, if someone doesn't understand what he's doing, it means that he's not davening. If you think davening is a headache, it means that he didn't daven yet. But if you really connect to davening, you enjoy it. To washing your hands, to making brachas before and afterwards. It's embarrassing to say the story. I was in the hotel the other day with his name is Ibrahim. He's not Jewish. He's Arab. I was drinking coffee with him, and he already makes a bracha. Shakal nir b'dvari. I was like shocked. Like this guy, maybe he's Jewish. I didn't know about it. You saw I was shocked. He says, no, why else we make brachas before we... They saw the Jews, they like it, the idea so much to praise God after he makes brachas. A guy makes brachas before he eats, after he eats. And sometimes we have people by us, they forget to make brachas. They don't make brachas. So the Tzemach Tzedek tells her, you have to be healthy, and you have to be, v'chai b'hem. And then said the famous line, it's better for you to eat in order to daven, than daven in order to eat. Gave her a blessing for long life. She passed away Yud Shvat. By the way, the whole thing of Yud Shvat, Bosi Ligani, comes because of Rebbe Tziniv, because she passed away Yud Shvat, and that's why they feel they can give him Bosi Ligani for his bubbe. The Rebbe told her to eat a bagel and butter in the morning. So all the stories in Chabad, a bagel and butter.
Why is it that we don't wash?
Obviously, you're right. You're not allowed to wash before davening, but she was very sick, right? She was in that case. You're right. Even today, you don't wash before Shachris. By the way, what's your name? You listening to the story here? What's the halacha? I'm asking you a question now. What's the halacha if you wake up in the morning and you want, our Zaydis had this question. We spoke about it maybe a few times. You could also in this class. And there was no water in those days, right? Even to drink. But obviously, if you only have a little bit of water, you use the water for negalas there in the morning. If there's anything that's important that we have regarding water in the Jewish religion, it's washing your hands by your bed right away. Not putting your feet on the floor, not touching any food. You don't eat the food, not touching your eyes, your ears. And sometimes, api halacha, it says 4 amas. Kilo, we can't walk 4 amas. That's like the worst thing, api halacha, to walk 4 amas. But api chassidus, api kabbalah, brought in Sfarim, that if someone puts his feet on the floor, api halacha, it's okay. But api kabbalah is mamshich tumah for a whole day. Which means that it's more lazy, that it's harder to learn, it's hard to focus, hard to watch your eyes. Which means that it's a certain tumah you have if someone puts his foot on the floor. Api kabbalah.
Do you actually feel the difference if you make an experiment and do one day?
Try it out.
I'm on a buffer.
I don't think you should ever try it out, by the way. Because she, without washing your hands with your feet on the bed, controlling the eyes and the machshavis and the dibur and maises. Huh?
What if you're on top bunk?
You're in top bunk, so in malasot, I guess it's all considered one bed. You go, by the way, okay, either you put the negavasar on the top, or you put it next to the bottom. You're right, but it could be all considered one bed. Bekitzer Amaisa, you're washing your hands now, but there was there's no water to wash your hands twice. You had to wash your hands now for negavasa in the morning and for bread. So how would you wash your hands if you're washing your hands one time? Huh? So that's why I'm asking. So what's the way you wash your hands? The 1-1-1-1 or 3-3? Shh. You're lucky. Very good. You're lucky. You know why? Because that's the only way to get away the tumors. Only 1-1-1-1. For bread, it's also counted to do like that. It's not a big deal. So.
Was it you who said if you do the opposite one, it's fine, like for washing bread?
Washing your bread's a pialoch. It's 1-1 is also enough, and also 1-1-1 for sure is enough. Till today, the regular Sfardim, they wash their hands once, twice, maybe each hand, but there's no difference.
We do 3.
You know where 3 comes from? It's a whole story with Deborah Shab. It's like a very big question. Somebody asked Deborah, there is from the guy's Ashir, there's a meaning he brought down somewhere that you do 3 times, but it's brought down. Think of the water before. Bekitzer, she ended up eating the bagel and butter, and she got healthy till Tzemach Tzedek said, now already you could already don't eat before Shachris. But obviously, if the Tzemach Tzedek says something, it's a very important lesson in the story. Obviously, you have those people in Chabad. For sure, it's a very important story. That is the source that there's the Indian, and you have to eat before Shachris. Some people have that in their life. It's like you have to eat before Shachris, and they don't daven until you eat. It's like a mitzvah dayaraisa. The Rebbe says, "Yeah, the lady was sick. The doctor said she has to eat." But that's the source that you have to eat before Shachris. I even had a friend once that interesting guy. This guy was once going American Shlichus, and he tells me that he wanted to daven Shachris one day, but there was no food. How could you daven without eating before Shachris? So he's going around, he goes to the store, there's no kosher store in North California, he tried to maybe OU, went to the next, what did you do? I went to the next store. What did you do? But I didn't daven. I don't play games over here. Either you do it all the way, or you don't do it all. Right? Obviously, it's to be a big class, to take the Rebbe's words and to use it so backwards. But the Rebbe said what to learn from the story. The world of eating and davening, right? So by the way, every person in this room over here, I'm sure eats and drinks, Baruch Hashem, pretty well. And why do you eat? Yeah, that's why you eat. Okay, because she's starving, and you eat because you should serve the Eibush there. So, why did you eat today? Breakfast. Yeah, so you eat only when you're hungry.
I didn't eat breakfast. No, I literally had to force it down my chest.
Okay, so listen. I don't know. I was eating my breakfast today. I think the regular person, could be I'm wrong.
Breakfast time.
The first regular guy goes to eat, doesn't even think why he's eating. You come, you're talking to your friend, you spill, you take from the bowl by mistake, and you even realize you took the plate, the fork. You're not even realizing what you're doing. You're just going. Some people, they live their life without any awareness. They're like, they're like in a different world. Although even those people that are a little bit in a different world, when it comes to food, they're much more alert. Some people, davening, whatever, it could be walking out of it. When it comes to food, what's for breakfast today? What's for lunch today? And they get back to planet Earth, and they're very mocked, everything should be exact. But some guys, they eat, they never thought why they eat. They eat, I don't know, breakfast, like she said, breakfast time, you eat, whatever, you don't think about it too much. By the way, when you eat because of that, when you eat without any reason at all, it goes down to a lower level than noiga. Some people, it's like interesting, some people, they were not even hungry. They eat the food just because they like the taste of the food. Some people, they're not hungry, they're not starved, they like the taste of the food, and that's why they're eating. They enjoy the taste, and they eat it slowly, and they suck on it, and they spend time, and they're in the taste of the food. That's all. That brings the food down to Sholosh Kibbutz Atmeis Legamri.
Even worse than Naika?
Yeah, that's the...
That's like Biggie.
You should just know, whatever, we'll see that in a second. And then some people, they eat because they're hungry. I don't think Baruch Hashem in seminary could be the reason why we eat is because they don't want you to have other taivas, so they make sure the food should be because you're hungry and also only to serve God, and there should not be any other reason why you're eating the food. You know? It's a very good question. We're going to speak about it in a second. It depends which chocolate also, milchiks, pariv. That's a simple question. So, 5, number 1, why do you eat? Never thought about it. Number 2, why do you eat? Because I was hungry. It's really the lowest one was because I eat because I like the taste of the food. That's why you eat. Not even hungry, but eat because of the taste of the food.
You don't like a
And then you eat. Chavre, check it. You finished the arts and crafts over there? What are we doing over there?
Well, those are really good notes.
In a way, you're right because it's good that you're quiet.
And I'm listening.
I know, but it's still better to get some tact into you, to get some seichel into you. This is the Rebbe's word.
I'm listening,
You're listening?
and I was participating. I said multiple things multiple times.
Very good, very good. Listen carefully to this word. A very sensitive word of the Rebbe. I think this sikh of the Rebbe is like the whole chassidus is in this, but you get it. You get it. If you don't get it, whatever. And some of you eat because they're hungry. And the ultimate reason is you should eat because you can't be in class focusing now if you would be starving, right? Which means that's not a fake thing. It's not a joke. You're eating to serve God. The fact is that's the truth. When you eat, you are serving God because of the energy of the food that you're eating. You're davening and you're learning. So what do you think about it? It's not a lie. It's not a fake. Okay, could we also enjoy the taste? Okay, it's not the end of, we're human beings, so we taste the food a little bit. But at least don't only talk about the taste. The fact is to think about God, and that's the truth also. But the simple reason you eat is because you want to stay alive in the world today, and that is through eating. That's also why you drink. Also, why do you sleep? Again, some people just, when you think about it, just go to sleep. But you think 5 seconds before you go to sleep, I'm sleeping because I can't function the next day in class if I'm going to be tired, right? So you go to sleep, and that's the truth. And it's crazy because if someone lives 90 years in this world, imagine you slept 8 hours a night.
A third of your life.
Those 30 years went just on sleep.
Wow.
When you're a kid, you slept for 20 hours, okay? And some also machmir. No, believe me, if you want to make your whole life, it ends up being even more than 8 hours. As a kid, you sleep for 20 hours, 15 hours, other 5 years. And okay, that's already in your hands a little bit. But eating, well, some people even the years that they're awake, they even want to go to sleep. Even also. But is it 30 years of waste of time, or is it serving God? It's very simple. If 5 seconds you thought before you go to sleep, I'm going to sleep now, and that's the truth. I can't function the next day. I can't daven or learn if I'm not going to go to sleep now. So then it's 30 years of service of God. If you just sleep because you thought whatever it is, so you're wasting 30 years. So when you think about it before, that's when you elevate it to God. If not, then you're right afterwards. You're still learning because of the power, so you're also elevating some part of it, but it's not the same.
So when I fall asleep on the couch,
Well, if you fall
You never really fell asleep. You make sure to fall asleep. Yeah.
So every physical need is really backed by a very strong spiritual need. So even if you don't consciously think about the fact that I need sleep to serve Hashem,
Okay.
subconsciously you're very much aware of that.
Who says that word? The Baal Shem Tov. Very good. Re'evim gam tzemeim nafshem b'hem ta'ata, which means when you're hungry, but obviously, Rebbetzin, you have to obviously reveal that power, right?
100%.
The neshama is obviously very deep, but our job is to reveal that, to bring it to our conscious also. Okay, so that's all in the world of food, which means the reason why you eat is for your body, so also that's why you sleep, that's why you drink, that's why you go shopping, business, working, all the physical acts that you do during the day goes into the world of food. Food could be also the main one, the goal, that's why we call it food. And then you also daven Shachris this morning. You daven Shachris this morning? Why are you daven Shachris? That's the way you connect to God. Why are you now in class for? Some people they're in class because they have to be in class, whatever. But if you're already here, the normal person is in class because you want to connect to God. Why do you learn? Why do you daven? Why do you do mitzvahs? It's all in the world of daven, which means everyone in this room over here has the world of davening and has the world of food. The question, the big $1 million question is, what is the connection that you have between these two worlds? You have both. You daven, you learn, and you also eat and you sleep. You have these two worlds. Is there any connection that you have between these two worlds? There's three. The first guy comes to shul. The first guy comes to shul to daven to the Eibishter. What is he davening? Refreinu Hashem v'nirofei. If some guys are davening, they're saying the words, they forget what they're holding, what they're doing, which page they're holding. If they said it, they didn't say it. They don't know what they're holding. But that guy, the Rebbe didn't even speak about such a person by the Farbreingin. A guy that just says or doesn't say the words, or says the words, doesn't know what he's saying. The Rebbe didn't even speak about such a person. The first person the Rebbe spoke about by the Farbreingin was a guy that davens to the Refreinu Hashem v'nirofei. His Baba is very sick lately. Now was sent to the hospital, and he's asking for a fortune for his Baba. Also, his aunt was going through a hard time. Also, the person himself had a backache. You don't have to wait for any little problem you ask regarding health that's why you have Refreinu Hashem v'nirofei. Don't just daven and say the words. The more specific you are when you're speaking to God, it makes it much more relevant to you, right? So this is how you're supposed to daven. The first guy is davening, and he actually means what he's saying. Also, what you don't know, in hospitals in Israel, a lot of Yidden are being they were wounded in the war. Soldiers asking the Eibishter for a for all the Yidden. Baruch Aleinu. What's Baruch Aleinu? That we don't need to tell you how to have the kavanah. Baruch Aleinu is what? Parnasa. Everyone there is davening. That's when everyone shakes. Everyone's making sure. Ve'es call meaning. What's ve'es? What do you think when you say ve'es? Wheat for matzah. Very good. Wine for kiddush. The esrig. You think about that? That's a school for Parnasa. And he also just lost his job. He's asking the Eibishter to find a new job, a better job. He's asking the Eibishter for Parnasa. Okay, the person finished davening Shachris. He had a good Shachris. He kisses the siddur. He goes out of the shul. Where's he going to go to? He has no job. Okay, he goes to the hospital. He goes to visit the Bubbe. And he speaks to the doctors. Wow, the doctors say that he's actually doing much better. He's like, wow, they were thinking which hospital to send their Bubbe to. And they picked this hospital. Lucky they picked this hospital because this hospital that's actually it's a much better hospital than another hospital. It's much better doctors here. He doesn't think for a second that he davened that morning that his grandmother should do better. That's why she's doing better now. He doesn't even connect. Not that he's a bad person. Not that he's a bad person. But this person doesn't connect at all the two worlds. The world of davening, it stays in davening. It stays in seminary. It stays, that's the whole spiritual world. That is spiritual, very holy, and it could be very good. The most Shidduch girl in seminary, Farbreingin and davening. But then it could be Cholamaytzukis. It could be goes out to the world, and then it's a different world all the way there. You can't even connect. Like there's no connection between the two worlds. Afterwards, let me just finish the vart. Afterwards, he gets a phone call from his chavrose years ago in yeshiva. Now he's in Argentina. Wow,
This is very specific.
the shoes in Argentina is very expensive, and in America it's very, very, very cheap. And he can make it now. He just found out about a good deal. He can make it now with shoes, and he can make a lot of money. Good job, a lot of money, business. He's like, wow, it's so much luck that I have this guy in Argentina. He doesn't think for a second. That morning he asked God for parnasa. And right away he got a deal. He doesn't connect. This guy is like a klotz. He's a shoite. He doesn't connect the two worlds.
No, but he also davened for Parnasa every day.
Okay. Every time you ask God for parnasa, you're getting more parnasa. Okay. This is the story. This guy doesn't connect the two worlds. The second person who comes to shul, the Baba should do better. The aunt should do better. He should do better. He asks, he davens the way he's supposed to daven. Just like the first guy, in a way. No difference, I don't think. Baruch Aleinu, Parnase. I should have Parnase. Shma Aleinu. I have a friend that he tells me Shma Aleinu. He has maybe 10 minutes he thinks about Shma Aleinu.
Why
Like, you ask for it. He says because he has 10 kids, and he gives every kid 1 minute. He asks the Eivishter for Yosela to have friends in class, along with his teachers. Also, he has this issue, and he goes to which means davening. You're speaking to God. You ask him. What do you mean it's so cute? Cute. It's for you. That davening is the secret of success. Whatever you want, whatever you need, you speak to God. If you daven the way you're supposed to daven, you're going to enjoy davening because you're going to see the way God's answering your prayers. You're going to see it. And if someone daven and speaks and walks around, I'm really whatever it is, then he can't have any tightness. But he spends 10 minutes, and that's the mitzvah of davening to the Eibishter, and every kid has a minute in his shema. That's the bracha. You can ask whatever you want. And he asks for parnasa, and he goes to the hospital afterwards. And when he goes to the hospital, his grandmother's doing better. He says, "Wow, I asked the Eibishter Pashut that morning. I asked the Eibishter for the Baba, and right away got answered. It's crazy. Sometimes it takes time, but to get right away an answer. Wow, Baruch Hashem." After he gets the phone call from his chavros in Argentina with the shoes, wow, he says, "I can't believe it. I asked the Eibishter, and right away I got answered." He connects right away these two worlds. The world of davening, stay in shul, in seminary, in the yeshiva. He brings it also to the business. He understands that the fact that he's doing well in the business, the fact that he's healthy, everything's because he's speaking to the Eibishter. So what's wrong with the second guy?
Well, because of him.
What do you want? What does the second guy want? He wants to have parnasa. He wants to have health. But whoever has a little bit of brains knows. If you want to have parnasa today, there's only one that's able to give you parnasa. Try whatever you want. You're not going to get... It's pure God. Health? Forget about it now. Health? No one in the world could... no health insurance. No one can give you health. It's just God. So he knows that he has to be in good terms with him. And he davens to the Eibishter, and he learns in seminary, in Farbreingin, the Chittas and Rambam, because he knows that Chittas and Rambam is supposed to give him parnasa. He knows Negavasar. He knows that brachas. He knows davening, which means this person is davening in order to eat. He wants to have the good life, And he knows that the only way to have good life is only through the Eibishter. So this guy is using, he's good, like you're saying, nothing wrong, he's doing, at least he's davening, he's learning, whatever, but his goal is really the food. His whole world of davening is aimed to the world of food. The third guy comes to shul, and that is our goal. Our goal is to at least know about the third guy, first of all. Some people, even the first guy is already a vart. To think when you're saying to think about different people. Baruch Hu, think about paras, think about different things. Davening, speaking to the Eibishter. Even that's you can learn of the first person. The second person, also to learn about that. Where everything is because of the Eibishter. You see God in everywhere you life. It's a very big thing to know also out of number two. But it's important to know number. If you would know number, if you would live your life in the third person's mode, forget about being time. That's not what I mean. It's going to take away all your anxiety, all your devastations, all your frustrations. All the frustrations in the world, all the problems that people have, is because people have their own desires, and you have a desire, it didn't work out. I wanted to go here, I wasn't accepted. I wanted to go here. It's all because I. The third guy comes to shul and says, God, I don't really care. I don't really have anything. And not that he's saying it's dumb. The fact is, God made you. God, it's not as if you think you're alive and God is asking you to do things. No, you don't. God made you, and God's making you every second, which means you have no existence for yourself. Your whole existence, God's making every second, and it's just for God. And that's why your whole concern and your whole goal is just to do what God wants from you. Which means everyone in this room over here has a certain mission only they're able to do. I cannot do, no one in the world could do the mission that you were sent by God. So you're obviously Shulchan Aruch, to make the brachas, the davening, and Wasser, to make sure you do all this, whatever God wants from you. And also, what's your specific mission you have to figure out? And this is what your concern is. That's the only thing you're asking God. I want to do what you want from me. I can't do it if I have no money, and I have no parnasa, I have no health, and I'm locked out in bed. And so give me the parnasa, give me a big house. I should be able to have the Farbreingins for the people to be Mekarav Yidin. I should have a car to be able to go around to do whatever you want, which means I don't need the things for itself. Which means I only want to serve you. That's my goal. That's my only initiative in life. The only goal that everyone is supposed to have is just one goal, one desire in life, to do what God wants from you. And all the parnasa, and all the health, and all the happiness, and all the is only, for sure you need to have that also. But that is only there in order for you to be able to serve God better. Because everyone has always this question. Shoshana, Kabbalah Samalchus, the Eibishter. So why are you asking for parnasa? Why are you asking for health? It's a contradiction. People think it's like a whole contradiction. You care about yourself or you care about God? So you have to understand that the whole goal, the ultimate goal, is just to serve God. And when you live your life like that, that's your existence, that's when you're going to feel normal, you're going to feel happy, you're going to have meaningful, and then you're going to have a good life. Because when you have your own agendas, your own desires, your own wills, and a lot of times, what do you mean? You're living against your existence, Bichlal. And then it doesn't happen, you get devastated. What do you mean you want, I want? By the end of the day, God created the world, He's creating the world, He has a plan, and that is the only plan that exists on planet Earth. There's just one plan. That's the only plan. The more we attach and connect to the plan, that's the only plan that's going to work out, buddy. All the other plans, it's going to be yes, no, and everyone goes crazy. There's a roller coaster and anxieties and frustrations, whatever it is. Well, mister, forget about all your strange and alien desires, because these desires are made up by you, and it could be it's not going to happen, it's probably not going to happen, and you stop making yourself crazy. Understand that God has a plan. For sure, a lot of times you don't know what the plan is, so you have to think about it, whatever it is. For sure, there's also going to be challenges. I'm not going to say all of a sudden now it's going to be you're living life 1,000%. But at least you know what your only concern is. What does God want from me? I wasn't accepted in the seminary here. I ended up going to the seminary there. Or Shabbos off. I didn't get a shus. You know, it always happens. I was supposed to get a shus for go Shabbos off. Mrs. Chitrik said that you can't go for Shabbos off, and you have one girl who comes to seven. The whole Shabbos, she's devastated. She's in bed. She sleeps all. It's like suicide, but it's almost like suicide. I know you're sleeping the whole Shabbos. You're like depressed, whatever it is. It's like a 60th of death. I don't know if you know, but the closest. I was telling this to Bakr once that sleeping is the most craziest thing. The whole time you're sleeping, it's like almost like death. It's like 60th of death. He enjoys sleeping. How can you enjoy sleeping? You're not even around when you're sleeping, Bachal. It's only like the second you fall asleep. I'm trying to tell him there's no such thing. The 60th of death. He says, wow, if the 60th of death is so geschmack, you can imagine how it is to die. He took the whole thing backwards. But you have to understand. If someone's going to live his life. So this girl was very upset the whole Shabbos. Till today, she's upset at Mrs. Chitrik. Why are you getting Shabbos off? There was the other girl also that Shabbos. I actually know the story. I'm not going to tell you how, but I knew there's the other girl that was was supposed to go for a Shabbos off also. And didn't go. And it could be also it bothered her. She wanted to go and she didn't let. But she knew that it's not because of Mrs. Chitrik. That's why she didn't go for Shabbos. Because that's what God wants from her. She came to the Farbreingin Friday night and Shabbos day, and that Shabbos changed her life.
We get the Farbreingin.
That Shabbos, that's who the Farbreingin is. When someone has a certain plan, you have your own plan, and it doesn't work out, then it's supposed to be, wow, that's so interesting. Let's see what's going to happen. Why did God make that happen? And then you're going to see, if you have that mindset, you know that God's running your life, and God has a plan, and your only job is to make sure to be with His plan, because that's the only plan that's going to work out. You can have your own plans. What it's going to end with your plans. And if you think you're supposed to go here and you end up going there, that's very cool. Wow, it's so interesting. Let's see what's going to happen. And you're instead of being devastated in bed like a clot, and you end up missing also the reason why you stayed there. B'chlal. Imagine that, and you have to now, who knows what you have to go to get that point. But there's only one power in this world. There's only God. And He's the one that's making this world. He's making your life. And we have to live. You want to live your life normal and be happy and to have, to feel good without having all the anxieties and depressions. Where does depression come from? Where's the anxiety? All these frustrations? Where does all these things come from? When someone is not doing what he's supposed to do. Your soul is supposed to connect to God. It's supposed to daven. It's supposed to learn. And when you do that, that's what the Tanakh Tzedek says. Instead of eating in order to daven, instead of davening in order to eat, a person is supposed to eat, which means all the sleeping, all the business, everything that a person does, eating, drinking, everything is supposed to be aimed for the Eibishter. That is the whole goal of the whole chis and our whole life. Tov, yeah, someone had a question there?
Yeah. So are you saying that pain is like only a result of that bad thought process, that incorrect thought process? Like any negative feelings don't like that feels.
Okay, this is a very, very, I don't know if you even know what kind of question you're asking, but let me just say it in very simple words. There's something called pain. And pain exists in this world. There is something that's called tsar, it's pain. Real pain is pain. Pain is pain. Everyone has. The pain exists in this world. It's part of the matziv. But pain and not accepting the pain, that is torture. Which means most people, when they're in pain, it's not suffering. There's no suffering from pain. It's hard to have pain. But the real suffering people have is because they don't accept the pain. Right? That's in therapy today, the third wave of CBT therapy act. That's one of the headlines of that therapy. That the real, what's ACT? What does it stand for? ACT, acceptance, commitment, therapy. What is the point of the therapy? I'll tell you a story. There's once a lady that also, she was going crazy because her daughter was married to someone who was pashat abusing her. And she could not take it. She was going crazy for years. And she was just telling her daughter just to divorce, and that's it. But she was saying that it's hard for you to understand this thing. I know it doesn't make sense in our heads. How could it be someone going through abuse? But she was saying she wants to stay with him. And she couldn't understand. She was going nuts. She couldn't live. She had to go to therapy. The mother had to go to therapy. What was the therapy? There's a lot of types of therapy, but in this case, it's a very simple therapy. The point is very simple. What's the point of therapy? You are not your daughter. There are some things that are in your hands, some things that aren't in your hands. You have to know the difference. Right? The famous prayer, right? To the Eibishter, to ask God to give you power to change what you could change, to give you the brains to accept what you can change, and to have the brains to know the difference between them. Your daughter's not you. If she decides to be there, you have to learn that that's how it's going to be. It's very hard to accept that your daughter is suffering and being abused by this person, right? But the second she accepts that that's the fact, she was able to live her life much more normal. Because the real suffering, the real torture people have is because they're fighting their pain. They're not accepting the pain. When someone learns to accept the pain, like we spoke about Viktor Frankl, in Auschwitz, we spoke about him at the Farbreingin. He also went through Auschwitz. He went through all the pain. He said one of the lines that he uses is, because you should read his book, right? Seeking for Meaning in Life. He says everyone has their Auschwitz, but everyone has their ability to react the way they're supposed to act or to break by it, which means everyone goes through the thing of pain. But when you don't accept it and you're trying to fight it and you don't accept it, then it's devastation, then it's torture, then it's suffering. But just pain by itself, it's hard. It's hard to have the pain, but you know that it's all God and it's for a certain purpose, and you're trying to figure out. We said the story about the motorcycle with Tayyib. You remember your uncle Tayyib said the story. Tayyib, is you already sleeping already? Let me say a story. Tayyib, wake up! You don't even know that you're sleeping. Can you imagine? You're so in your schluff. So Michal Tayyib, listen to the story about your uncle. This guy. I'm not going to say all the details of the story because we don't have time to say his crazy stories, your uncle. This guy his wife once told him to go buy something in the store. And yeah, sometimes you have to listen to your wife and you got to do what you got to do. You got to go buy stuff in the store. He went to his motorcycle. He has a motorcycle. He's going amid the mall. A guy goes and smashes his motorcycle. Did we say the story? He went flying. By the way, most of the story of motorcycles is no story. There's no one to say the story afterwards. Motorcycle crashes. Is the end of the story. The point of the story is not that he's your uncle, okay? Listen to the story. But this guy says, I never in my life felt so much pain. This guy was not, again, it was an accident, car accident, the motorcycle. He was in the motorcycle, he went flying on the floor, and he's on the floor, he can't move. And the guy that smashed into him goes over to him, oh my gosh, this is Rabbi Tayyib. Imagine you the big rabbi, somebody you know, the big rabbi. Rabbi, get up. He said, I'm getting up, man. I can't move. Call the ambulance right now. It took him 50 minutes, and he says one of the biggest pain was that he was on the floor. It was the middle of Tammuz. It was just a few months ago. And
A few months ago?
yeah. Okay, wait. Now it's a different story.
Yeah.
Yes. Because it changes.
So every story that you ever hear, imagine and think, let it happen just now, because it's happening right now to you. It's happening to us right now. If you're going to live your life and hear stories in such a way and learn in such a way, it's going to change your life, I guess, because it's a very big difference. So imagine now you're on the floor, and it was steaming hot, the floor, and his hand he couldn't move his hand, and his whole thing was only to put a paper. It was burning.
Why did it take 15 minutes for the ambulance to show up?
It's a very, very good question. We're going to get that in a second. Bekitzer, listen to the story. Listen to the vart. Listen what you get out of the story. He was so frustrated and so mad. Why was he mad?
The guy on the floor. The only person in the story. Oh!
Who? This girl who? Bekitzer Amaisa. I'm not going to finish the story. It's going to take years. Like a little one point, but you're not going to get the points. You're not in the story. Bekitzer Amaisa, he's suffering and he's so frustrated. Like, why in the world, God, are you doing this to me? I'm going out I have a shir tonight. I have a Farbreingin tomorrow. I'm not going out to play golf and to go to the shuk and to see the hummus or chalva, whatever it is. I'm going to the pizza. This guy was going now to serve God. His whole life is just the Eibush there. He wasn't mad at the guy that smashed into him. But he was very mad. Like, he was telling, why in the world are you doing this? I'm doing everything right, and he's just getting mad. Like, why? I'm going to the hospital. Who knows what's going to happen? And then he has one little thought in his head. One little thought goes into his head. Mr. Tayyib, if you are going to be mad right now, and you're not going to take it, you got to find yourself a different job. Start selling bookcases in IKEA. Your whole existence is chassidus. How the Eibush knows what he's doing. Everything has a plan. As ashkocha pratis. You're always bringing about it. Whatever. When it comes to your time, your challenge, if you're not able to take it, you have to shut your mouth right now. You cannot the whole day preach. You have to find yourself, go sell falafel in Mahana Yehuda, go find yourself a different job, and that maybe you're going to be more successful. You cannot hack the whole day. And then while he's in pain in the motorcycle, he has the famous verse from Nissim Nemerov that said, a person could learn chassidus for years, Farbreingins for years, just to pass 15 minutes of challenge in his life. It could be your whole life, it's just for that little challenge. Now you're going to break? He says right away, his mindset changed. He says that he started getting excited. The pain didn't leave. But he started getting happy. He says, wow, now I am living life. Whatever I ever said in my life, whatever I ever learned in my life, this is for now. And right away, And automatically, when your mindset changes and you take it in a different way, it's a much more bigger relief to the pain. He was still in very much pain. He says he never felt God more than in that. Okay, by the way, he went to the hospital. He was in bed for a few months. He was in very big pain. He couldn't sleep. He was in very big pain. But every morning he woke up, Mizmor Soida, thanking God for every second of his life. He said he never got closer to God more than that time. And you have someone else, the same story happened to him in a motorcycle, and he's still today mad at God, and he's mad at the guy, and his whole life is ruined because which means the same story happens to two people. One person, it breaks his whole life, and one person, it builds his life. Which means that there's no significance to anything in this world. It all depends on how you react it. And the way you react. That's why Chassidus is trying to change your brain to know how to react in the right way. And when you learn Chassidus, then you have the best life. You're still going to be challenges, but it's different. It's different pain. It's not torture pain, not suffering pain.
Can I say something?
Well, some people raise their hands, and it's interesting to see people still raise their hands today in 2025. Very good. Kol hakavod. I don't know who was first. I'm very sorry who was first.
Excuse me? I can't see.
Yeah, what's your name?
Laura.
Last name.
Castle.
Castle. Very good. Pittsburgh? No. Almost. Pittsburgh?
No, I'm from Australia.
Australia.
That's why I raised my hand.
Oh. Good word.
Just how can you say that if you accept, like the whole issue with pain is whether or not you accept it, and the whole mission of suffering with how Eov ends, and with the message that we learned from Eov, that Eov accepted pain up until a point, and then eventually Eov lashed out on Hashem, and from there we learned that you can lash out on Hashem if you're in that much pain, and that Eov was an Eved of Hashem on the level of Abraham, and Eov ends with Eov cursing Hashem. And that seems to be the right.
He's asking a very, very, very deep and a very big question. One of the biggest books of Jewish philosophy is probably that book of Eov. All the debates of Eov and his friends. There's a lot of messages we learned from Eov. One of the main ones is never tell this to someone else. When he's going through pain, what's going on, and not to justify the Eibishter, right? And I'm not saying, but I don't know how you learned Eov, because it's a very sensitive book. I know, but that whole thing of you're allowed to curse doesn't say you're allowed to curse. It says that if you said something negative, you said something when you're in pain,
Then you're not liable.
okay. But Eov himself, it doesn't say, because there was no act therapy in Eov's days. It could be if Eov would have went to therapy. It could be.
Eov is the benchmark of how we learn of what happens when.
You're right. And Eov had a very hard time to understand why and how this is happening to him. But then what was the answer of God? What was the answer of God?
It was a test.
That's God. Right? The God didn't even answer the question, really. God just asked him questions.
Why would that even be in Tanakh if not to teach us a lesson that this whole notion of pain and, we just have to accept it, and if we accept it, life will be easier, when that's not necessarily the case. How can you accept the fact that if all of your kids died in a fire in your house, if your wife left you and you had nothing left, all your money was taken from you, what are you supposed to do? How can you say then if you just accept the pain, then it will be easier, and if you say Miss Melisada every day, after losing such a thing, then your life would be magically fine.
Obviously, you're 1,000% right. When someone loses a kid, when someone goes through pain, it's very, 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 very painful. And no one could tell you why it happened. Saying we don't know why it happened, what's God's plan over here, whatever it is. But the question is, when someone goes through that tragedy,
Every day is the right thing for every single person to do, no matter their circumstance.
you're saying every case is different. It could be you're right. It could be every case is different.
Yeah.
Could be he was in that level, that's why he did it. It could be other people. But in general, today, even in psychology today, they understood that the only way to live with the pain is not by fighting it. Which means some people, the kid lost his kid who was killed in Nova. Until today, they're going crazy, and they said they're crying, and it makes sense. It makes 1,000% sense. Someone lost a kid in the party over there, so they're very devastated. But the interesting thing is that the next floor under, also they lost a kid in Nova. And they sat Shiva, they brought down to say Kaddish, Mishnayis, and they started keeping Shabbos and Tefillin, and they started living life. Which means it's the same thing that happened. You're right, it's very painful. But the question is now, what do you do with the pain? Are you going to stay with it? Are you going to now be with the pain forever and fight with it and have that stay with you? Or you know that you can't understand why it happened for, but to move on.
But why would we want to rationalize pain?
We don't want to rationalize the pain. It's more by moving on. Or sometimes getting what you need to get out of it. You're right, it could be every case is different. When someone loses a kid, someone's in the motorcycle. It's a very big question. This is going to be the next class to speak about this thing. It's a very...
Suicide isn't the answer.
No, we didn't get the answer yet.
We only ever
You're asking now, depends on the case. It could be you're right. Could be that's an answer.
Here, suffering does.
Very good. Rebbitzin from Castle.
Castle.
The point was that pain doesn't disappear.
Suffering's a choice.
The suffering is what we're trying to get rid of. That's what is in your hands. Okay. What was your question?
I'm not sure if I can word this properly, but you said 3 different people. And
Yeah.
The first people you mentioned how they had relatives that were sick and they had Gashmis needs that they needed. Third person can't serve Hashem properly. He has he can't come in and tell Hashem like in his dog that I just want to serve you and do whatever I need to serve you. If he has relatives that's sick or if he has Gashmis.
Right. So that's why he's asking Hashem to make everyone healthy. They shouldn't have any stress in this world. Hashem should take care of all of us because he wants to daven normally, he wants to learn normally, he wants to go miftzayim, and if his grandmother is there, if his thing is there, if he has no, he has to run around, get food for his children, so he can't. Shlichus. So he's asking the Eibishter to get rid of all the problems that he has in his family. His grandmother should be healthy. He should be healthy. His family he said they should have parnasa, whatever they need to have, in order they should be able to serve God without any dagas.
Because of the pain that it causes and that day. He could just be davening for his grandmother to get better. So his grandmother should be better.
Yeah. You know, by the end of the day, again, learn the sikh of the Rebbe. Could be the story. The Rebbe doesn't say the story about the grandmother getting sick. The Rebbe says the person read the sikh of the Rebbe on Yud Shvat, in the first few volumes of the Kutu Sikhs. Alabi's Gimel Dalet. But to ask for someone else, she's right. When you ask for someone else to be better, that's a mitzvah by itself. You don't have to.
Was it connected?
Rebbe Tzanivko.
It was connected. Oh, it was about the.
The class in short was there was a person named Rebbe Tzanivko, and Tzemach Tzedek told her it's better to eat in order to daven in order to eat. And the Rebbe explains what it means for us, and the Rebbe gives 3 examples of how to connect these 2 worlds with each other.